Welcome to The Explainer. I'm absolutely thrilled you're tuning in today. We're tackling a topic that, let's be real, causes a lot of anxiety for folks. But I promise, by the time we wrap up, you're going to feel totally empowered. We're making a massive shift today. We're waving goodbye to the guilt and sheer exhaustion of traditional budgeting, and we're stepping right into a system of guaranteed wealth building. So bring your focus, because what we're about to cover, it's going to fundamentally change how you interact with your money.
Let's be honest for a second. How many times have you looked at your bank account and asked, why is there literally no money left at the end of the month, right? Most of us operate on the exact same playbook. We get paid, we pay our living expenses, maybe have a little fun, and then we swear we'll save whatever's left over at the end of the month. But honestly, let's look at reality here. That leftover residual money, it almost never exists. Daily expenses, an impulsive late-night Amazon purchase, those forgotten subscriptions, and little daily luxuries, they just quietly eat up every single dollar before the month even ends. It is incredibly frustrating.
Okay, let's dive into this. Because the secret to letting go of all that financial guilt comes down to one absolutely crucial truth. This is not a discipline problem. It is a systems problem. Seriously, behavioral scientists and economists have studied this whole save the leftover strategy, and they've found that it fails the vast majority of people who try it. You haven't failed because you lack discipline. You haven't failed because you're bad with money. You've just been relying on willpower, and relying on willpower fails almost everyone. Basically, you've just been using a broken system.
So here is our roadmap for today's explainer. First up, why traditional budgeting usually fails. Number 2, the present bias trap. 3, the pay yourself first framework explained. 4, 5 steps to automate your wealth. And finally, number 5, stepping into your new financial identity. Let's get moving.
All right, section 1, why budgeting usually fails and the whole willpower drain.
Now, budgeting as a concept isn't bad, but the way we usually apply it definitely is. Why? Because it relies on something incredibly fragile, our daily impulse control. Willpower is not a personality trait, you guys. It's a limited resource. Think of it exactly like the battery on your smartphone. When you wake up, boom, it's at 100%. But every single time you have to make a choice, every time you force yourself to walk past a Starbucks or close an Amazon tab or say no to a flash sale, you're draining that battery. By 8 p.m., your battery is hovering at 2%, and that is exactly when the budget breaks down. It's a classic case of decision fatigue. Wealthy people know this. They don't rely on motivation to build wealth. Instead, they design systems that automate the right behaviors, so willpower isn't even part of the equation.
Moving on to section 2, the present bias trap and the psychology of saving.
Now we really need to meet the villain of our story. This is what you're constantly fighting against: present bias. Basically, the human brain is biologically wired to prioritize an immediate, tangible reward over a future, abstract benefit. A brand new gadget or a spontaneous Target run today, that feels incredibly real. A retirement fund 30 years from now, that literally feels like it belongs to a stranger. Because of present bias, your brain will constantly invent these completely logical-sounding reasons to spend money today, while promising to start saving next month. And modern consumer culture is perfectly engineered to trigger this. I mean, with one-click buying and Apple Pay, commerce is completely frictionless. It ensures your spending impulses are triggered way before you can even make a conscious decision to save.
Section 3, pay yourself first explained. This is the ultimate framework. So now that we know the problem, decision fatigue and present bias, here's the framework that completely neutralizes both of them. Let's compare the two approaches. The flawed way, which is what most of us do, starts with income. The money comes in, you pay your expenses, and then you try to save the residual. But contrast that with the wealthy way. Income comes in, you immediately divert your savings, and then you spend the residual. You see the difference? You do not save what is left. You spend what is left after saving. This single, simple shift in sequence is the foundation of almost every successful personal wealth-building story out there.
We literally have to fundamentally reframe how we view savings. Most people think of savings as this optional afterthought, right? Like something nice to do if things work out at the end of the month. No. You need to make it a mandatory, non-negotiable obligation. Listen, you are the most important bill in your entire financial life. You must pay yourself before you pay anyone else, and you need to treat that payment with the exact same gravity as your rent, your mortgage, or your electricity bill. It's paid first, without debate, every single month.
Section 4, 5 steps to automate. This is our actionable system.
All right, now we're getting tactical. I'm going to walk you through exactly how to implement this system so you can take action the minute this explainer is over. Here's the high-level view of our 5-step system. First, decide the percentage. Second, open a separate account. Third, automate the transfer. Fourth, live on the rest. And fifth, direct those funds with purpose. Let's break each of these down right now so you can apply them today.
Step 1. Decide your savings percentage. Now, the standard financial rule of thumb you'll always hear is to save 20% of your take-home pay. But listen to me carefully on this. If 20% feels completely impossible right now, do not let that stop you. Start with 5%. Start with 1%. Heck, start with $1 a day if you have to. The percentage matters far less than establishing the actual habit. The goal right now is consistency, not perfection. As your income grows or as your expenses drop, you can gradually dial that percentage up.
Step 2. Open a separate savings account. This is absolutely vital. When your savings sits in the exact same checking account as your daily spending money, it gets spent. It's just human nature. Separation creates a necessary psychological barrier. Ideally, you want to set this account up at a completely different bank, specifically an FDIC-insured high-yield savings account where it can actually earn real interest. You want a bank that takes a day or two to transfer funds back to your regular checking account. Why? Because that tiny bit of friction protects your money from your own impulse decisions.
Step 3. Automate the transfer. Honestly, if you take away just one action from this whole explainer, make it this one. Set up an automatic transfer scheduled for the exact same day your paycheck arrives. The moment your income hits, your chosen amount moves to your savings account before you ever see it, before you touch it, and before you can even think about it. Automation entirely removes the need for a decision. You can't forget, you can't talk yourself out of it. It simply happens in the background.
Step 4. Live on what remains. And guys, this is where the magic happens. After that automated transfer is gone, whatever is left in your primary spending account is yours to use freely. There's no guilt, there are no complicated spreadsheets to manage, you don't have to agonize over every single coffee purchase anymore. You get to experience incredible psychological freedom because you know, deep down, you've already won the month before it even really began.
Step 5. Direct your savings with purpose. A savings account is a fantastic starting point, but it's definitely not the final destination. Your first mission here is to build an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of living expenses. But once that buffer is full, you direct your automated savings into investments, things like low-cost index funds, a 401k, or a Roth IRA. This is where your money actually begins to work for you, growing exponentially through the power of compound interest. The earlier you start this phase, the more powerfully compounding works in your favor.
Let's look at how this math actually proves itself in the real world. Consider person A. They decide to wait until they're earning a higher salary to start saving manually. But you know how it goes, they never quite find the perfect moment. By age 45, they have very little to show for it. But then consider person B. They start at age 25, automatically saving just 10% of a fairly modest income. They just set it and forget it. By age 45, person B has a massive financial cushion. They didn't get there with a huge salary. They got there through consistent automated behavior. The difference between wealth and struggle isn't necessarily your income level. The difference is the system.
Section 5, your new financial identity and the mindset shift.
So we're shifting from tactical steps to a lifelong mindset here. I know your brain might be throwing up some roadblocks right now, so let's do a quick rapid-fire myth-busting sequence on some common objections. First up, I don't earn enough. Like we said, start with $1 a day. The habit is worth way more than the amount. Second, what if I have an emergency? Well, that's exactly why Phase 1 is building an emergency fund. It turns emergencies from life-ruining catastrophes into mere inconveniences. Third, I have debt. Okay, yes, you should aggressively pay down high-interest debt, but saving even a tiny amount simultaneously builds your safety net so you don't end up creating new debt. Finally, I've tried saving before and failed. Look, you failed because you tried to do it manually. Automation completely changes the entire game.
You know, most financial advice out there focuses entirely on tactics. But pay yourself first is ultimately about your identity. Financial discipline isn't about restricting your life. It's about deciding in advance who you want to be. People who build wealth believe that their future self deserves the exact same respect and priority as their present needs. When you set up this system, you're making a huge statement. You are saying, I matter. My future matters. I am someone who builds wealth. Every single automated transfer is a powerful vote for the person you are becoming.
And that brings us to the end of our explainer. Listen, you do not need a massive raise to start building wealth. You don't need a flawless, super restrictive budget. And you certainly do not need to be a Wall Street financial expert. You just need one decision, made once and automated today. Pay yourself first. Everything else follows. So the only question left to ask is, what exactly are you waiting for? Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you in the next explainer.